Well, it is a spending showdown. President Biden unveiling his massive $2.3 trillion infrastructure plan this week, including tax hikes to cover the cost of the package. But progressive Democrat Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the proposal is too small. Instead, she wants to see $10 trillion spent over the next decade. I want to bring in Democratic strategist Kevin Walling and Republican strategist Ford O'Connell. Good morning, guys.
Hey, Cheryl. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Ford, I'm going to start with you. Mitch McConnell says this package is not going to get any Republican support. They're going to fight it tooth and nail. I guess the question is, A, can they? And B, your reaction to AOC's call for more spending. Ford.
Well, the Democrats have never met a federal dollar they didn't want to spend, real or printed. This thing is going to get through no matter how much Republicans try to block it. It's only going to get through with Democratic votes. But I'm going to tell you, as it's currently sketched out by Biden, the $2.25 trillion will be the largest tax hike on the middle class since 1968. And if AOC gets her way, this thing is a Trojan horse. Less than 6% of it is actually going to be spent on bridges and roads. And if AOC gets her way, it'll be even less than is spent on infrastructure. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the middle class who pays for the Democrats' tax and spend ways, whether it's through their paycheck, their 401ks, the cost of goods and services, which they buy once this goes through.
Kevin, even some Democrats are raising the red flag about the amount of spending we're talking just on this proposal, this particular infrastructure package. Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania said that this push for infrastructure is going to prove more difficult than even getting the coronavirus relief package passed, that $1.9 trillion, because of the questions regarding funding. How do you pay for this?
Yeah, Cheryl, it's a good point. And I think Senator Casey is right from Pennsylvania in terms of just the dynamics alone, facing a slim majority in the House, 4 votes Speaker Pelosi has, and a 50-50 split in the Senate with the Democrats in control with the tie-breaking vote. But I have a lot of confidence in President Biden and his ability to sell this to the American people. You rightly point out that the coronavirus package remains incredibly strong in terms of public support. And I think when you see Joe Biden out there, his 5 cabinet secretaries he's tasked with this, on the stump pushing for this, I think he can bring the American people to bear on this and put pressure on Congress to do the right thing.
Well, to be clear, I don't really believe that the 1.9 coronavirus package was necessarily needed because in my view, and this is just my opinion, that we didn't even know where the money was going to be going from the package that was passed before President Biden took office. I think a lot of that money has not been spent, and I want to see where that goes. But let's
absolutely. It was more about your take on the slimmest majority passing that package, Cheryl, than the merits of the bill.
We'll have to see because again, a lot of Democrats are opposing this cabinet, and I guess this all comes down to politics, right, Ford? Because reconciliation. If no Republicans are on board for this, Ford, that means they're going to have to go to reconciliation, and they can't do that over and over. Ford. So this is a political fight.
Well, they can't do that. They can't do that over. They can't do that over and over. They can only do it once a year. But I can imagine the Democrats trying to change the rules. And to your point, Cheryl, you're absolutely right. I'm going to push back on Kevin on that. When it comes to the $1.9 trillion COVID package, less than 10% of that went to public health. And in this case, less than 6%, as it's currently sketched out, will go to infrastructure. You're going to raise the corporate tax rate to the highest in the world. And eventually, it's going to be the middle class paying. And the Democrats like to name things about things that we like COVID relief and infrastructure, but in reality, they become progressive wish lists that we don't need, and they wind up causing the middle class to pay and may even lead to inflation and tanking the economy. This is the Democratic way. Spend the dollar every single way you can, and the Democrats aren't going to take their foot off the gas because they believe that they have 2 years to push us as close to socialism as possible.
Kevin, respond to that.
Yeah, sure. I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump brought Republicans and Democrats together to talk about his infrastructure plan that was $2 to $3 trillion. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Obviously, Democratic administration is in charge and Republicans want to object across the board. I want to see actual ideas from the Republicans in response to this, not just all-out war against this package, but where can we come together and agree on some of the spending when it comes to our rail, when it comes to public transit, when it comes to modernizing our infrastructure. That's where the rubber hits the road, literally, and let's have that discussion. But don't object whole out, but let's see Republicans put forward some ideas on this, and where can we come together?
I have an idea for you, and this comes from the Wall Street Journal, guys, and this is about the issue of corporate taxes, right? Okay, so the Wall Street Journal in an op-ed, rightly so, Ford, pointed out, and they used Janet Yellen's own words against her, that they've had a global race to the bottom in corporate taxation. They want to put an end to that. Of course they want to raise taxes, right? But other countries after President Trump passed the 2017 Tax Reform Act, other countries, Ford, actually followed our lead as a nation, and they reduced corporate taxes. No other country right now, whether they're in Europe or Asia, even China, is signaling raising corporate taxes, Ford. But yet President Biden wants to raise corporate taxes. Here we go, right back the other way, Ford.
Well, yeah, I don't understand how you want to raise corporate taxes when, in fact, we're in a fragile economy. You want to actually raise taxes on the people that are providing the jobs. I have no love for multinational corporations. But to your point, Cheryl, since 2017, 9 countries and 9 industrialized countries have actually lowered their corporate tax rate. And to your point, we're battling China in terms of the global economy and jobs. The fact that we have a higher corporate tax rate and they essentially have slave labor to make products means that the American worker is eventually going to get hurt in this, and wages are going to be driven down. So if you want to hurt the working class, raise corporate taxes.
Yeah, Kevin, I'll give you final word.
Yeah, Cheryl, at least Democrats have put forward a plan to pay for their legislation, unlike the $2 trillion tax package you mentioned. Let's have that debate about corporate taxes.
The numbers don't add up.
Let's absolutely have that debate, but at least Democrats are putting ideas in terms of how we pay for it and not just writing checks to our children in terms of that $2 trillion tax package passed during the Trump administration.
A lot of trillion-dollar packages getting battered about. I mean, it makes me very nervous. I don't have kids, but gosh, if I did, I'd be worried about what I'm leaving them in all of this. Kevin, Ford, guys, it's great to have you both here.
Have a good weekend, Cheryl.
You too. Right. Happy Easter, guys, to both of you.
Happy Easter.